All right, folks, you've seen Angular so far. What do you think? It's pretty good, but we need to do better. We need to be able to store these meows on a web server so that all of our friends can see them, not just us. Because right now it's just like file and then like the file up here at the top. Like it's got to really say like mittens.com, right? So we have to learn how to do a web server, and we're going to use Node for that. So what you do is you just Google NodeJS, and then you can go to download. Yeah, so they got Windows, Mac, Linux, all sorts of crazy stuff. And once you install that, you can then use your terminal. On Windows, it's command prompt. I don't know if you know if it looks like this, command prompt. And on Mac, it's just terminal. If you do a search for app, it's just a terminal app. I use iTerm too on Mac. You just Google that, you download that. It's a nice little change of pace. So when you open it, you can, you could do dir to like list your current directory. On Windows, on Mac, it's ls. And then I have my src folder, if you remember. So I can do cd src to get into that folder. Same thing on Mac. dir. I just have my mittens, you can see there. By the way, if you're in a folder and you need to get up a level, you do cd ... to go up. And then I do cd src to go back down into that folder. And cd mittens. Sorry, not lsdir. Okay, so as you can see, I'm inside this folder now. Okay, so what do I do now? So now that I have npm installed, what I'm going to do is make a server. How do you do that? Let's see. We're going to get this thing called Express. Now this we're not going to download. I'm going to show you something special for this. So if you look at Express, it says to do this thing. npm install express save. What does that mean? npm is this little program that comes with Node. It's like a package manager. It lets you install little libraries that people have written. So if someone wrote this library, or a lot of people wrote it, and it lets you serve web pages. So we're going to use it. So I type npm install express, and then -- save. Just do the command they tell you to do. It'll download it from the internet, from the npm registry, their website, and then it'll show all of its dependencies, which are other libraries that it depends on. And so if you take a look at this file system now, it puts everything. It made a new folder called Node Modules. It made a folder for the thing we installed, and it has all its files. You don't have to look at this. All you need to know is that what we downloaded went into Node Modules. So once that's there, let's make a server. So how do you make a server? You just make a new file, save it, server.js. It's a JavaScript file because we're using Node. Node is JavaScript on the server. So let's look up real quick how to do a simple ExpressJS server. And they have a hello world example here. So we're going to take certain things from this. So the first thing you'll do, this is what everyone in Node.js does. They have a variable, and then they require a library. So the library that we installed was called Express. Remember npm install express? That's this thing right here. And we're going to store it in a variable called Express when we load it up. Then we do this thing. So this app is different from the other app. This is the server side app. And that Angular and that HTML file, that's the front end, it's called. This is the back end now. So this is a different type of app. And we call Express to this is how you initialize it. You just do this. Just copy paste. Don't know how it works, it just does stuff. So then I'm gonna skip over this thing. We'll get into routes later. App.get, app.post / like just copy this part down here. And paste that. App.listen that says listen on port 3000. On a web server you have ports, so you can go to like blah blah blah.com :3000, 4000, 8286. Like it's just like a port number. Usually you don't specify the port number. Like if you go to google.com, you don't specify the :3000 because it automatically knows which port. But when you're developing this stuff with Node, you gotta specify it. Actually, I think if you don't specify it, it picks 80 or something. But everyone just does 3000 usually. So app.listen. Listen is a function. The first argument is 3000. The second argument is a function, which defines the good stuff. So this function is what's known as a callback. So once the app is done starting up on port 3000, it'll call this function. How do I know that? You can kind of just tell after getting some experience, but I guess you could learn that by you can look up app.listen. You could probably just Google that term and look up the documentation on what the two arguments are. But I just know from experience that this is what's known as a callback, and it'll call this once it's done starting up. So let's save this, and let's go back to our command line. So dir or ls for Mac, you can see what you got here. So how you run it, you just type node, which is what you installed, and then the name of the file, which is server.js. Enter, and there you go. Oh, I just got a little security alert from Windows. Allow access, I guess. I don't really understand Windows sometimes. Okay, so there you go. We have a little web server. So let's see what happens if we try to access it. Since I'm running it on my computer, I type localhost colon the port number, which is 3000. Enter. Cannot get. Okay, that's fine. So basically, it's doing something. This is coming from the server. This message. So what we want to do is keep things simple. Let's take this website that we already have, the Mittens website. Let me close all this other stuff. And we're just going to serve it using our server. So it's going to be localhost 3000 / that's it. It'll automatically pick index.html. So how do you do that? Let's Google ExpressJS simple server web page. Let's see. We already looked at that. Let me look at this one. Let me see what we got here. No, I don't want that. What I'm looking for is, here, I'll cheat a little bit because I already know what this is. Simple server static. So static is a special function that Express gives you. It's just one line, basically. You just copy it, paste it right in. And what this does is, here's some gobbledygook express.static. It lets you specify a folder out of which to serve files. So most people put public as the folder. So what does this mean? What this means is we open up our file system here. We say new folder called public, and all of the front end stuff goes into that folder. So like index, Angular, oops, so I do control, and Bootstrap is also used on the front end. So I put all that in public. Node modules and server, that's your server side, that's your back end. Node modules are always your back end. And then you have your server, which runs in your back end. And then it serves everything in this public folder. That's all we're doing here. So let's see what that looks like. So let's restart our app. I do Control-C if you want to stop it. That's for Mac and Windows. I hit the up arrow to load the last command, node server.js. And then listing out port 3000. Let's go back to our web server. Enter. There we go. We got Mittens. Here, I can close this old tab now. I don't need this anymore. I don't need these guys. And so here we go. We got our server. It's running. So that's basically it. With when you install Express using npm, you can just require it. Then you initialize it using their just Express, and then it just calls a function. And then you do app.use blah 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 to specify which folder all your front end files are in. And then lastly, you start her up. You do app.listen, which two arguments. The first argument is the port number, which I just do 3000 all the time, and the second argument is what gets called when it's ready and listening. So it says example app listening. Like if I try to hit this page when the server is not running yet, if it like hasn't started up yet, it'll be like this. It just won't load. You see this little loading thing that says web page not available. So I start up the server, boom, and I can refresh it, and it's loading everything inside this public folder. So where do we go from here? So what we're gonna do is, remember those meows? Remember I can add another meow here. Like do comma, hello again. Let me save that. And let me refresh this site. Why isn't it loading? Oh, it might be caching it. Let me just see if it's caching. Console. No. Interesting. It should really be putting that out there. If anyone can explain this, I will be in your debt, because let me try this. Console.log meows. Save. Refresh. Okay, something's happening here. It's not getting the latest version of the file. Oh, I know why. I gotta close these and open them again, because this is, I moved these files. So I really just, oops. Let me delete this file. You gotta be careful when you're using Sublime and you move a file and you save it again in Sublime, it doesn't take the move. So I can just highlight all these, index and style, and I could probably just drop them in here. So anyway, as I was saying, comma, hello again. Save it. And then refresh it. There you go. So these files are just like part of the HTML, nothing special. What we're gonna do is we're gonna put this on the server side. So then things get really interesting, because then you can, you know, it's like an app now. Like basically your backend is setting and saving the tweets, the meows, and you'll be able to edit it on the server side, and then the users will just see it update. They could just refresh their website. And it's kind of hard to explain, but you'll see like the power of setting these on the server side, because once you figure out how to do that, then you can start saving it in a database. And once you have a database, then you could have different users posting different meows, and then they can log on one computer and save their meow, and then log on another computer and see the same one. Right now, if I save this, I would have to update everyone. Everyone would have to like download the same file. But with a server, everyone gets the updates from a central place. So we'll go through all that. So just wrap your head around this for now. Server side, NodeJS, ExpressJS, get it working.